my favorite day of the week. It is Warrior Writers Wednesday. And this is where I get to introduce to you guys some amazing people who are definitely gifts from God to the body of Christ. And so I wanted to tell you that, if you indeed are a writer, this is definitely a program for you. Of course, we have Authors View on Goodvue Network. And so make sure you hit us up. That's Duke at goodvuenetwork.com if you want to connect with us because you want to write a book. And I'm putting this up here for you guys to know how to get in contact with just such a wonderful gift from God. His name is Missy Maxwell Ward. She is so awesome. Just a wonderful leader, wonderful heart. I'm talking about her if she's not here. She did not pay me to say that, by the way. I have to let that be known. That she's people are like, how much did she pay you? No, she's really awesome.
You're awesome. We adore you.
Thank you so much for everything that you do and how much work you put into working with the Warrior Writers. I'm excited because it's always exciting when someone's written their first book. I mean, like when they've just released a book and catching them on in that place is like phenomenal because you don't know where it's going to go, but you do know such a great accomplishment. And so we have with us a very special guest. This is the newest addition to the word, like new book out, like the new accomplishment out. And so we have Teresa with us. How do you say your last name, Teresa?
Brunstein.
The reason why I ask is because so far I was reviewing some of the Warrior Writers interviews that I've done, and my batting average ain't too good right now. So I was like, I'm going to figure a way around. And I'm going to ask them how to say it, and then I can't mess it up. Brunstein.
Right.
Did people slaughter your name growing up?
It's my husband's name, and I think they did. But yeah, that's my married name. But yeah.
All right, so let's get into it. Tell us about the book. Tell us. This is such an exciting time for you. Is this your first book?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Wow.
And, there it is. I'm really excited. It's been uploaded, and hopefully we'll go into pre-sale soon. And then the release date's December 1st. So. Yeah.
Wow. So what is the book? Tell me the name of the book. What is it about?
Okay, the book title is Finding Normal in Bipolar, Leveling My Mind and Becoming My True Self with God's Love and Peace.
Ooh. Okay, so you came out swinging. I get it. Now, interesting enough, mental health is one of those things that the body of Christ kind of doesn't know how to handle. And so we see this polarization between, where it's like, is it spiritual? Is it chemical? Is it mental? And so a lot of people don't realize. I'm like, hey guys, be cool. Like God's the God of it all. You know what I mean? It's just about how we approach it. But let's talk about it. So this is your personal journey?
This is my personal journey. Yeah. It is, there's an incident that began in the beginning that led to my bipolar diagnosis, and then it's my story through my life and how God helped me, and it's got a lot of ups and downs, of course, and deals with a lot of other topics too. So,
I have to. If I had a hat right now, if I actually had a hat on, I would take it off and say, "Hats off to you." Because when it comes to mental illness, there's a lot of shame involved. A lot of people feel shame, like, oh no, if they find out that I have a mental illness, they're going to think less of me, da da da. And so for you to put it out there, my imaginary hat, like, hats off to you. And because I think a lot of people need to know that it's okay. I know that even getting counseling, these are things that are challenging for a lot of people that say, if I go get help, or if I say I'm dealing with this, then I'm not as spiritual as people think. Or how did you maneuver through all of that?
Okay, well, it took me a while to get on top of it, I guess. I mean, and I had some other traumas that were playing in there. And what happened was I had to deal with what I was diagnosed as with medicine and therapy before I could get to the point where I felt God, I could even get to where God was. And then once I got there, then things opened up and I was able to do things with my lifestyle and my health and things like that were a very big part of it. But one of the biggest things was taking care of the trauma and the changes that were happening first, and making sure that I was a whole person, and then a whole person with God.
So Missy, when you found out this is where she was going with the book, I mean, this is pretty much putting it out there. Like I said, she came out swinging. This is not necessarily. How do you? What's your initial thought when she says, "This is where I want to go"?
Well, I mean, I felt a peace and an excitement, because here is a person who's willing to step forward and say, I've struggled with this. I've had thoughts of suicide. I've tried to do this. And there's a whole group of people that are afraid to say anything. And here comes Teresa. She's walked through the battle. She's been through the worst. And in her book, she even talks about, she allows her husband and her daughter, and I believe her son, write how they handled living with a mom that had bipolar and some of the worst times of it. And when you see what she was going through, it helps you understand a person who's completely feels like they're out of control, that they just can't get a grasp on it. And I think it's going to be a huge help, because people who are, let's just say people, it doesn't matter if they're in church or not, when you are living with a person with bipolar, you're not understanding what's happening in their life, in their mind. And when you can start understanding that, number one, you know how to pray for them. Number two, you know how to come alongside them and love them through some of the hardest stuff, because they know some things really often. They're doing their best to try to come out of it. And prayer is a powerful thing. And that's one of the things that really helped bring Teresa through it. But instead of being angry and not understanding her family came alongside her and said, let us understand this with you. And I think that's the greatest thing about this book. And I really felt it would be a book that would help families to understand the loved ones in their lives that are going through this.
Teresa, I've got to ask you, because I think that, again, this particular subject is so massive. It's weird for me. It's weird for me because it's so massive, but so many people just don't want to talk about it. And again, I do know that a lot of it has to do with the fear and the I guess being criticized, or like, hey, how do we know? Let me ask you this. When you were writing it and you're having to deal with this, what was that journey like, saying, okay, I know that I'm having to reflect on the times where my mental health was not necessarily there? How do you walk through that without resurging those emotions or condemning yourself? And how do you do that?
Well, I got to tell you that writing this book was one of the hardest things I've done, because I did have to go back and relive things. It gave me a better understanding, and it also helped me address and heal the parts that I needed to heal, so that I could, get to where I needed to be, and just be who I am and be a child of God. That's so powerful, because again, for some reason, when it comes to mental health issues, this is the one time where you'll see Christians like, I don't know if God can handle that. Like, no, there's nothing that God can't do. He can't heal you from. So let me ask you this: how long have you been a believer? I mean, I've been going to church my whole life, and baptized in high school, and I've always been a believer. My grandma took me to church when I was little, and I just loved it, and always felt, Jesus loves me. This I know, for the Bible tells me so. That was one of my favorite things to hear and say when I was young. So was there, when you was there a fear that, I guess, when do you get to a point where you say, okay, I have to accept
that this is what's going on, that it's not a demonic attack. It's not this. It's really something about me that's off. And when do you go help?
Well, you go, to be honest, you go back and forth with it because it's not, you just are not yourself, and you go back and forth. Am I crazy? Is there something demonic, or is this really what they tell me it is, and that kind of thing? And, there could be traumas or doors that got opened that could contribute to the bipolar, because I think they go hand in hand, and trauma and triggers can make it worse.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Sure. Now, I think you said, "Am I crazy?" It was so funny because I've actually never met a person that wasn't. I've never met a person that wasn't. Because with bipolar particularly, I think that it is a challenge for believers because it is a physical thing. It's a physical and chemical thing. And so I do believe that, when it comes to mental health issues, let's be real, even the scientific world, the psychological world, they're just now really getting into it. I'll say over the last, 100 years or so, out of the entirety of humanity, they're just now like starting to figure things out. Was there a time where you're like, I have to push through this with my faith, and my faith is enough? And when do you go, okay, I'm not less of a believer because I have to take this medication?
Right. And that's basically what my entire book is about. It's my 40-year journey from the time I was 24 when I attempted suicide and found out I was diagnosed with bipolar, until just when I've been in Missy's Warrior Writers, I've gotten a lot of healing in doing this book. And so it's just come full circle, and that's really what my book is about.
Yeah, and because you said that, you're forcing me to say, like, how important is community?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like, explain that to me.
Well, so you feel like you're alone many times, but that's one of the things I hope to reach out and tell people is there is hope, and don't be afraid to ask for help, whether it's if your friends can't handle it, then get a therapist or a counselor, because they do a great job. And sometimes you just need to, figure things out. If you feel it, I guess it's real, because you have to work through it. So
yeah. Was there any resistance where you thought that if I put this stuff out there, it's going to be used against me? Because the reason why I'm doing this, because I know that others are coming because of what you've done and the leadership that you put out there. And I'm always trying to get ahead of the enemy, because I know the attacks that the enemy will try to play on people. So, and I want people to be able to hear it from somebody who's actually, overcoming it, and they can say, hey, okay, if they got through this battle, so that it wasn't you, it really was a fear that this information might be used against you. Did that happen?
Yeah, that happens many times. And, when you meet new friends, you're like, well, do I tell them? Do I not tell them? And there's a stigma to it. And, you just have to walk through that. I've even had people that I work with that are pretty insensitive, and like when someone's being kind of cranky, they'll say, oh, they're just bipolar. And, so they just throw the term around too. So that's a little hurtful. Yeah.
Yeah. So just in case you guys don't understand, this is not just moody. I think that's what this is, not just being moody. I don't think people quite understand this. This is really a chemical imbalance. It does affect your moods in a lot of places, which means that means that you have to do things a lot more intentional to make sure that you're carrying yourself the right way. Did that journey feel like it was, how difficult was that part where you're like, okay, I have to be intentional? I mean, because you're a person that, because of what you're dealing with, you have to absolutely be in control of your feelings and how you make other people feel and things like that. And so you have to be really intentional. What was it that helped you do that?
Well, I talk about it in the book. There was kind of a breaking point where my husband and I had marital trouble, and we were separated for a while. And my emotions triggered the bipolar to go out of control because I had so much other stuff. I think stress and all that stuff really complicates it. And you finally get to where you have to make routines. You have to take care of yourself. And sometimes people aren't in a position where they feel like they can take care of themselves. When they're down, depressed, or when they got things going on, they don't think through it. But now I've been through it. I do think through it. I'm very intentional about sleep and health things and just everything that you just have to be very disciplined.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's kind of where I wanted to get to, because I feel like we live in a society, that is not really promoting self-care a lot. It's like, we're judged by how much success and like treat anxiety and all these things like as if that's okay.
Right.
And that's why I find it fascinating, the title of the book, when we live in a culture that genuinely stresses people out. And I'm like, wow, like, because it makes me want to, it definitely makes me want to ask you this question. Why is it that we struggle with peace so much, like on the inside?
I think the thing is that people don't take time to be quiet with themselves and invite God into their life. If you intentionally take that time and just, even if you're not reading your Bible, if you just are quiet and listen, then you will hear what God, has planned for you. And it's just be calm and be peaceful for at least 5 minutes a day.
For parents out there with newborns and babies, just so you know, you're not off the hook. Your peace matters too. Because I know parents sometimes will be like, no, I'm a mom, I'm a dad, I don't get to have peace. And it's like, no, yeah, that's not okay. You have to have peace. Missy, I do have to ask you this because of what you went through, and as far as being, told you couldn't be a writer and all these things, and that you shouldn't write. How did you find peace? When you were, because obviously when people speak against us, it does create an inner battle. So how did you find the peace to locate your true identity?
That came through relationship. Relationship with the Father. I'll never forget the time that I just paused, and after I was reading the Word and I was praying, and I just felt this hush come over me. And I said, Father, how do you see me? How do you see me? Mm-hmm. And what he showed me gave me confidence to go into whatever battlefield I was going. And so when I started writing this, my first book, I would just lean into him. And I'd say, Father, this is your book. I've been told I can't do it. I'm doing this completely out of obedience to you because you have said I need to write this book. Now, how did he say that? Everybody was coming up to me saying, you need to do this book. And then I have, a person prophesy over me. The Lord says, get that book done.
Right. Okay. Teresa, do you already have a website and everything?
I do, yes.
Wonderful. Let me put that up there because I want people to be able to know what it is. What's the website?
You can just put in teresabrunstein.com.
How did I know that was going to happen? I almost didn't ask. But
it also directs to Behold You're Bold, which is kind of my motto and theme or whatever.
Gotcha. And so let me ask you this, because I really want, because I already know that the enemy is freaking out right now because there's so many people that are just afraid to do anything. I have to ask you, did a fear of failure ever try to stop you? And how did you suppress that voice, this fear of failure? Because I know a lot of people, Missy and I talk about this from a writer's perspective, like, who wants to hear this? No one wants to hear this. Nobody cares. My story isn't significant. first of all, did that happen to you?
Oh yeah, along the way, a lot of times. And there were times I wanted to quit, and I had to rely on Missy to give me encouragement, and also the other warrior writers. They go ahead of you, and you see what they've done, and then you can find the strength to do it. But it is hard. And even right now, I feel in a vulnerable place because people are, if they do read it, it is, it's putting myself all out there. So yeah.
Yeah, and I tell you what, my initial thought is when they read it, they're going to be grateful. They're going to be grateful. I think that there's going to be a lot of people that are relieved because this is more than just having a temper. This is more than just, and it's affecting people's lives. I know that a lot of people who are trying to self-medicate with alcohol, did any of that try to show up in your life?
I did not have trouble with alcohol, but I did have trouble with overspending on credit card. That was, because it was too easy to click on and so I ran up our credit cards. That was my thing.
And it's because it shows up differently for everybody.
Some people it could be like they're sexual, more sexually aggressive or that kind of thing, but or alcohol. Yeah.
Right. So because it's very the intrusive thoughts, the impulsive. Now, how did you get to a place where you were like, hey, like, how did you figure out how to find that balance?
It was a long process, but I just kept at it. It's kind of like with the book. For a long time, I thought my life was going, one step forward, two steps back, until I really embraced the triune God and implemented that in my daily life. Instead of just going to church. Going to church is great, but you've got to bring it into your family and get it all inside you because, and then it sticks.
That's so good because the reason why, even when I first said I've never really met anyone that wasn't crazy, it's just because it's true. It's just because if God is not sitting on the throne of your heart, there's this unsurrendered place in your life that the enemy is going to take advantage of. You know what I mean? And Missy, I would like to ask you this because when people say things like, how can I write about this, even though I'm going through it, but I'm not a professional, I don't have a right to write about it. Could you talk to that a little bit to make sure that people know they have a right to tell their story?
You have a right to tell your story. You have a right to tell your experience. One of the things I tell all writers to do, if you are going to tell your experience, especially when it's about bipolar or any physical health, mentally, anything like that, is just put a disclaimer that says, this is based on my personal experience. This is not professional advice. But I will tell you this. Personal experience hits the heart of individuals more than professional things. And because you are a professional, you've been through it. And just reading, as I read through Teresa's book, I know that my mom was bipolar. She was undiagnosed bipolar. And I learned that. And I thought if I'd only known what to do, I would have understood her.
That's my point.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when you're sharing your experiences and people read this, it opens up to healing for you, for the reader, and for their family. I mean,
what's attached to that is the level of forgiveness that I think, like, say, estranged children can have for their parents when they go, "Oh, that's what it was," and so that's one of the reasons why I want to encourage everybody to get the book. And it's not just supporting Teresa, but it's like, hey guys, there's a whole lot of people. I think pastors would be able to benefit from this because they're going to say, hey, maybe this is what this person is dealing with, and that it's not, I just think about people constantly trying to cast the devil of bipolar out or cast the devil of, and it's like, it's not that, guys. There's an approach to this using the wisdom of God, the love of God, the discipline of God. Was that something that you felt like people were constantly trying to tell you that you had to deal with?
Yeah, I definitely had several people that, question me. But I did give my book to my pastor, and he read it, and he wrote me a beautiful endorsement. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That is so brave of you. Like, you have no idea how proud of you I am, because I think there's a lot of pastors that deal with it. I think there's a lot of people that deal with it, but again, they're afraid to go get checked out. They're afraid to find out because they don't want to know that something else is wrong with me. Something else is wrong with me, and especially when I do know that, and I'm just being real. I personally believe that the celebrity world, the Hollywood world, they feed off of a lot of people that struggle with emotions, mental illness, because that's how they get all this wonderful creativity. But I don't think they do too much care for their mental health.
Right, and it does. I believe, from what I've seen in other people, it does affect people that are more on the creative side. Like some of you were saying, some of the Hollywood people.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know. That was just my observation, though.
Yeah, no, I've seen, and the reason why is because so many celebrity stories don't end well.
Right.
And then when you start seeing the increase of addiction, the bad decisions, the impulse, you're like, wait a second, guys. Are they actually surrounded by people that care about their health? Because right now it's not, the like destroying their own careers, all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, something's off. And I don't think, well, one, I know that Hollywood's not a place to care about it, but I do want to see the church be more intentional about what are some things that you think the church can do to help people that might be dealing with mental illness and bipolar and things like that.
Well, my pastor did say he wants to talk to me and about helping people that are struggling. And I think that's just the main thing is, we in a church, we help people that have physical ailments, and we care, and we, so help people that are struggling, even if they don't have bipolar, they're just down about something, depressed or anxious. We do at Christmas time, we have a blue Christmas. So people that, not everybody loves the holidays.
Right.
And so people that feel down and they can come and be together. So
yeah, and that's such a good point, because one of the things most people don't want to think about during the holidays is like, hey, there's a lot of people that are experiencing their first time without someone they love, their first time after a divorce, their first time being sober, their first time not being with their kids, or someone's passed away. There's a lot that goes into to consider. And I know we're running out of time, but I have to ask you this real quick. It's about maintaining those relationships. How much of a challenge is it to maintain the relationships once you become aware that you are struggling with mental illness? How much is that a challenge? And what was it that kept you in the fight?
Well, it has been a challenge, and there are some friends that I don't have anymore because they didn't accept my behavior, I guess. Sometimes you behave poorly and do things that others can't deal with. And it is hard, but the true friends stick with you. And so, that's what matters.
Yeah. Yeah, that's part of it. Well, listen, everybody, we are out of time. Listen, here's the website to go get the book. Missy, it is always a pleasure to have you with us. And I want to tell everybody, if you want to connect with Missy, if you are a writer, please do so. Here's the information right here to become a writer. If you feel like the enemy's been trying to stop you from writing, please deal with this and make sure that you guys you guys don't give up, don't give into the negativity, and do you mind doing another episode with us? Can we keep going? Do you mind doing another episode with us?
That's fine.
Okay. So guys, there's going to be a part 2 happening right now, but we're out of time. See you guys later. What's going on, everybody? This is Duke White, and you are watching part 2 of the Warrior Writer Wednesday with Teresa Brunstein. Got it right this time because of the fact that she told me. But we are talking about mental illness. We're talking about her wonderful book. Can you share the title of the book again?
Okay, the title of the book is Finding Normal in Bipolar, Leveling My Mind and Becoming My True Self with God's Love and Peace.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, that it's so amazing. Now, who came up with the book cover?
My editor actually did. Yeah, and so it's about the fact that your life is in pieces and you're trying to put them back together. Is kind of the idea.
So when you look at the pressures of today's society to be successful, to have the best kids, to do this, like it's all, there's just pressure everywhere. When does a person know that they're handling pressure differently than other people?
Well, I think for me, I'm, I try to be as calm as possible, but when something happens or triggers me, or I am or tired and I explode or act in a way that is not truly the way I would act. And it's very upsetting because then afterwards you have to apologize to people, you feel bad, but because, it's just, it's a struggle, but I don't really know how to explain it.
I get it, because the thing that I look at is when peace, and I love that you have peace in the title, finding that peace. I genuinely don't think people know how to describe when their peace is gone, especially if they've never really had it.
Yeah, I have it. The way I describe it to people is like if you were watching a Hallmark movie and you were really into it and it was happy and you were feeling great and everything, and someone takes the remote control and turns it on a horror film, and you have this, it just throws you into oh, kind of place. And so that's how I would describe it.
Yeah, that's actually really, really good. That's actually really good. Missy, when someone jumps out there like this, so for the other writers that might want to follow her lead and share their story, is there a point where you have to say, okay, this might be too much information? How do you guide them to what's, because when someone decides to be vulnerable, they're like, okay, well, I'm going to tell you everything. Is there a point where it's like, okay, they get the point where you have to guide them, they give them the point, but don't give too much details? Because do you have to deal with that?
Yeah, well, conversations that would embarrass them again, by having them. Those are things that we don't need to share. You can share that I think, words were coming out of my mouth like a torrent of, explosions. You don't have to share that, but what I do tell writers to do is share how you felt right before there. Because did you feel like an explosion of anger? Is that what you were feeling? Because I don't have bipolar, but I felt that anger before, mess with my children. I mean, that comes out.
Yeah.
But then on the other side of it, you have this, how you felt the guilt and the shame of saying all that, and you knew that wasn't who you were, and you feel like you hurt other people by the words you said. So now you have the embarrassment of having to go and apologize or live with it. So that's where you get the true feeling of what a lot of people are dealing with, and they're tired of this continuing to go because it's hard to understand at first.
Now, Teresa, you want to say something?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, you said that in the last episode, you said that there were a lot of people that were just insensitive. Do you think that this is a subject that people talk on that probably shouldn't? You know what I mean? That maybe.
I think it's all because it's misunderstood. People, if you've never had those feelings yourself, it's hard for you to grasp that someone else does. And, sometimes I even say, is this normal? That's kind of part of what my book is. Am I feeling normal? And I asked my husband, how do you ever have these thoughts? Do you ever feel this way? And most of the time he says no. So yeah.
Right, right. And how did you escape the something is wrong with me mentality? Because I know that people who deal with depression and deal with those extreme, the go-to is to come down on themselves and see something is wrong with me. How did you get away from that and into a more positive outlook towards these things?
Well, that took a long time. And I felt like you feel flawed, I guess. And why am I flawed? Does God love me? Because, and then you get to the point where I had to do what I called changing my I am, because I was saying I am bipolar. And once I was listening to Go Fish on the radio, and I heard the song You're My Little Girl, and I just broke down. And then I after that I changed my I am to I am a beloved child of God. And so you have to get that mentality that
Ooh.
I'm not my diagnosis.
Right. That is so good. Such a wonderful declaration. That is such a wonderful declaration. Now, when you're changing your I am, how how do you get your feelings to catch up with that? Because a lot of times, interesting enough, I'm writing right now on emotional idolatry, because we live in a culture that does idolize emotions. It's like the constant justifications of things. And so this is like right down my alley. And one of the things is that I do know that when people get into that negative place, they can't see anything positive. They can't see, it's just like, and I do think about all the people who, take themselves out, who do commit suicide because they can't see the next moment. What was your process when you're in the negative? How were you able to find that light during your process of changing the I am?
Well, in my book, I talk about several things that I call them coping mechanisms and that type of thing that I use if I'm really down. Like I have a specific movie that I watch, or I just do specific things that are just for me. And, I have to kind of find my way back to, where I'm level and everything's okay. So it is a little bit of a process.
Yeah, and I want to remind everybody that, of course, and everyone's process might be different. Might be going for a walk. But in the last episode, we did talk about the importance of self-care. And I would like to ask you, for you, because everyone's story might be different, but I think the procedure, the process is still the same. When do you say, I know where this is going, I need to take a step back, I'm going to go spend some time.
Right. Well, I've had that happen when I would explode at my husband and then kind of carry on for a bit and realize then what was going on. And then I would go in and I would lay down, and I had a progressive relaxation tape that I would listen to try to get me calmed down and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it worked better than others, but
I got you. And so my question now is, when it comes down to that admitting, because so to be totally honest with you, I think about Cain and Abel, right?
Right.
God comes to Cain and says, "Hey, your countenance has fallen." And he says, "Sin is at the door; it's crouching for you, but you must master it." To me, that's a message of hope.
Right.
Because it's saying you can do this. I'm telling you that you can master this. And this is why I want the body of Christ so badly to see that even though it may be a physical, mental disorder, a condition, but God is the God of order. So anything that's out of order, he can put back in order.
Right.
But I don't believe that Cain was honest with himself, and he goes and he talks to his brother, and that explosion happens where he didn't handle things right. When do you know when it's, even though you know you have to apologize or you have to take accountability, when do you know when it's okay to say, okay, I need to go and approach this person and not just act like nothing happened, but show them that I'm genuinely apologetic?
Well, I mean, I just give you an incident with a friend of mine. I don't know, she said something and it just hit me like instantly. And I kind of jumped up and kind of yelled at her, and she walked out the door. Well, some of my other friends even were standoffish of me for quite a while. And eventually I apologized, and we are great friends today. But it's really hard when you lash out at loved ones and they have to deal with that, because you don't even want to deal with it. So you know they don't want to deal with it. So.
Right. And I honestly think it's really difficult for parents a lot of times, because the world we live in, we're not allowed to make mistakes. We have to be perfect. We're parents, you know what I mean? And the kids can sometimes use things against us because they don't realize that we're human too. And it's really difficult. What was it like having your children share their story? Because in my world, I go, well, hey, don't tell my business, because it's my story, it's my business. But it's like, it's their story too. Your life is their story too. What was that? What was that journey like?
Well, it was, just like I said, writing the book was healing. I wanted them to be free to express how they felt and have some healing, and to be able to tell them, I am sorry that this happened to you, and that type of thing. So,
yeah. Missy, have you ever seen anything like this before, where the kids got involved as well and started? I mean,
when we first started talking about it, we talked about, what do you think about them sharing their perspective of watching mom go through this and the change that's happened in you? Because like when you meet Teresa, like I was just with her almost a week, and there was no sign of anything. She's totally funny, and just normal, and just in a good way. And so she is classic for looking at and saying, okay, here's somebody that said, okay, this is a situation that, what do I need to do to change that in my world, where if I recognize it's coming, that I take the precautionary steps so that I don't hurt anybody, including myself. So, and she is a great example of somebody who said, okay, this is here. What do I do with it? And here's a mirror. What can I change?
Yeah. Right. You do have to look at yourself in the mirror a lot. And it is, that helps to say, you need to act this way, you can do this, and all of that. Yeah, for sure.
When you go into prayer, what is that like when you go into prayer? Like, especially when you're in that peaceful place and you know what you're trying to avoid happen. What do you actually? I just feel like there's going to be a lot of people that watch this and go, well, can you at least explain to us how to pray? I don't know what to say to God, because if I'm avoiding it, then it hasn't happened yet, but I'm still feeling it. You know what I mean? Right. So how do you take it to the Lord in a preventatory way versus a reactive way?
Well, basically, I sometimes, when I have enough struggle, I have a hard time saying the words, but I know that if I cry out or even groan in pain, that God hears me. So, and there's a verse about that you don't even have to say the words. And so, I mean, many times I'll pray for things to go well, or pray for forgiveness for things that have happened. But when I'm in a really bad place, I just am with God. I just let him, he knows what's happening.
And this is why I say that our God is so phenomenal, and this is how we know He's the one true God, is because He speaks the language of our hearts and our tears.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's what's so phenomenal about Him, is that it's just like, hey, I got you. You know, like
Right.
it is such a parental thing. So when you said I am a child of God, like I'm a daughter of God, I really respond to that, because I'm like, yeah, there are these moments like your kid's down. You know they just need that hug. You know that they
Right.
just need. So God is very proactive. Like He is a parent, which I
Right.
think a big portion of our psychological issues and our trauma is that we were all lied to, that when you turn 18, you're an adult, no one can tell you what to do. When really it's like, no, we're permanent children of God. He's always going to be daddy. He's always going to be Abba. He's always going to love us. He's always going to be a father figure to us. Even
Right.
when our parents leave, He's always there ready to deal with our trauma. And I, I'm saying this because I know that there's someone who's going to say, I can handle this. I can. It's like, no, there's certain things that you have to surrender. So I'd love to know, what does surrender actually mean to you?
Well, like I said, my husband and I had marital troubles, and I got to the point that I was unable to do anything myself. I was just broken, and I surrendered, and that I felt so much comfort from the Holy Spirit in that time when I was crying and just being, and I gave up. I think God meets you in your toughest spots if you let Him.
Yeah. Missy, what about you? What does surrender mean to you?
Well, well, that's one of the things I will say about her book. There, in that place that she's talking about, if I could speak to that, she literally lets go and says, God, even if he never comes back to me, I'm okay with it. I surrender what I want for what's going to happen. I'm not going to try to make anything happen here. And when she surrendered that, things started turning. And he
Yeah.
came back. It's that release. It's like when we insist on something, it's almost like we almost bring resistance. So it's just resist.
Not saying that I relate to this. I know a guy when he was a kid, who he would get in trouble, and instead of like just accepting that he did something wrong, he would cause more trouble to take focus off of this. Like I said, I don't know the guy. I mean, I know the guy, but it's just saying, like a friend of mine, you know, friend of mine, somebody I knew a long, long, long time ago, but yeah, way back when, you know what I mean? But I just know that surrender is such a difficult thing for everyone across the board, because it's the temptation to say, I can fix this. When do you, like, what was it that made you say, I can't fix this? Only God can fix this? Because that sounds like peace to me. But when did you get to that point?
That's when I got to that point, like what Missy was talking about, because I am kind of a little bit controlling. I like to try to fix things. And that's kind of the way moms can be that way. So, that's kind of the way moms can be that way. So, I had to just say, I have nothing left and I need help. And whatever happens, I know you'll be with me.
Now that you just made a good point that I have to just, so because there's certain attributes, because I want to make sure we don't write everything off, especially if people are trying to figure this out. But there's certain attributes, because you said moms go through this, like, yeah, most kids absolutely think their parents are already insane anyway. Like, you're trying to control me. How, you're trying to, or you feel like, like, but how do you actually know which one is the necessary version and which one's the unnecessary version? Because I don't actually have a problem with people with control issues, because I'm like, hey, they know. I love their insight. Like, they know this can happen. This can happen. And with me being so abstract, and I'm the guy is the glass is half full kind of guy. So I need people to say, well, what about this? What about that? But how do you know which one is necessary and which one's unnecessary?
Well, I think as I've gotten older, I realized that I have to say, I can't do a lot of things. I have to tell myself I can't, but with God, I can. And I think you just have to get in a mindset, a lot of mindset adjustments, a lot of acceptance, and that type of thing is what I've done. So
Yeah. Okay. So now back to these triggers, because writing a book can be very triggering.
oh yeah.
And so you talked about wanting to quit, and I want to do this for the other people that's going to, like I said, follow your lead. What was that process? So you want to quit, you don't want to, you're like, this is too hard. What was some of those triggers that made you want to? Because I know for someone with controlling issues, like you can't push past the process. I mean, you got to go, you have to submit, you have to surrender to the process. So what was that like? And could you tell people, hey, watch out for this, in those moments?
Well, I mean, in my book, when I had to write about attempting suicide, and when I went through my marital struggles, those were so hard to write. They took me a long time, and they actually, I mean, I could feel it in my body. My body knew that there was a trigger there, but in a way it helped me heal, because I went back and revisited in a healthy way with God.
Mhm.
So,
And Missy, I want to ask you to describe this word, because for some reason I really believe that when we're dealing with people with mental illness or bipolar, the word compassion comes to mind, and I feel like you just ooze compassion. You know what I mean? But what how do you communicate compassion to let someone know that they are safe, especially when they're being as vulnerable as she is? And how do you say, okay, hey, you're in a safe place, but yes, what you're doing is dangerous. Like, because because you're open for criticism. You're open. Like, do you just like, no, everything's gonna be fine, or do you like how do you express the reality of the decision to be as transparent and vulnerable as she's being, and still tell her to take that chance anyway? How do you do that?
Right. Well, I know every person who's writing their story is put in a vulnerable position, because you are revealing who you are, things that maybe you've never told anyone. You're in writing a good story. You're not just a grocery listing it. Then I did this. You're going in depth. If you're writing it correctly, you're going into the emotional part of it. And with Teresa wanted to get this done, and we continued. I would continue to just encourage her that so many people are going to be helped by your words.
Yeah.
And there were times where she couldn't meet with me, and it was especially around those very traumatic events. And I knew, and I just gave her room. I didn't have to say anything to her other than, I'm praying for you. I'm lifting you up in prayer, but I know that this is going to help others so tremendously.
I believe it 100%. I do. I mean, I really do, because I think about the bravery that you have to say, hey, I already knew how mean people can be, but I also know that most people are in that self-preservation mode, and there's so many people, just don't, again, that the fear to even talk about it or even ask for help. So you doing this where someone in the privacy of their home. Now I do have to ask you, is it the digital book as well, or is it the physical book's the only one that's coming out, or is there a digital book as well?
Okay, when it comes out December 1st, there should be an ebook and a physical book, either hardcover or soft cover. And in February, I'm going to do an Audible too.
All right, let's go. Now, the reason I'm asking is because even that it's just like the book's written, but I still have to do this and I still have to do that. Like, I love your commitment to the cause, but was that challenging as well? Realizing that the days of just writing books are over, like you have to do the other stuff too. How does that affect you?
Well, when you get finished, you're like, okay, what do I do now? And then there's a process of formatting and uploading and waiting, and then you really don't have any control for a little bit. And that is hard for sure.
Especially for someone who says, "Hey, I got control issues." Like,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, no, I get it. But I just love that you have this attitude that you embrace the challenges. Like, I love that instead of like everything about you, that I see is like the normal pushback is to let it crush you and you just lay down and just say, "Oh, this is my situation." But you chose to go for whatever reason. It's so amazing that for whatever you chose to fight back. I think that's why I'm so excited. If I seem like real giddy, that's why. Because I'm like, normally people just choose to lay down and go, "Well, this is," especially when it's a medical diagnosis. "Well, this is what it is, so I have to submit to that." But you chose to submit to the process of healing.
Right. And, one of my favorite verses is James 1:2-4, where it talks about consider it pure joy when you go through trials, because it gives you perseverance. And I think you just have to be resilient and keep at it and become an overcomer and know that God has your back. So, and writing your story can help other people. So that's really important.
Speaking of resilience, Missy, you guys have a book out. Were you in that book as well?
Yes.
And you guys have a book out called Resilience. Could you hit on that? Because we're running out of time, and I would love for you to share a little bit about that as well.
You want me to share?
Yeah.
No, we have Resilience 1 and 2. And what we did is each person in the Warrior Writers took one chapter and wrote about something that they overcame, a true story of overcoming, to help inspire people in different areas of their life that they can overcome. It doesn't matter where you live, who you are, what your age is, what you're going through. We have a God that will help you get to the other side. And that's what the resilient spirit that's within women. And so now we're actually finishing up number 3. So resilience number 3.
Now, Teresa, I'm fascinated with this because I would love to know from you how important is it to, like, when do you know you're around people that you can be vulnerable with and say, "This is what because the truth is some people do use things against you, but when do you know you're around the right people?"
Yeah, that is tricky. And it is, I've had trust issues because you think you're close to someone and they might do something or talk behind your back, and that's very hurtful. But you do eventually get to where you have a small group of close friends that accept you just the way you are. And that's really what you need. You don't need like tons of friends that you don't know what they're thinking. So.
Yeah, it's wild because I think that that's another thing that our generation and what we've seen happen, especially with social media, is this overdrive of "I gotta be accepted. I'm nothing if people don't accept me." And it's just like, no, you're important because God made you,
Right.
and that's the thing, is that God made you. Now, I would like, because I feel like this is necessary. Could you speak to overcoming that desire that a lot of people have when they are facing, the depression, to isolate themselves? And did that happen to you, first of all? Was there a place where you wanted to isolate yourself?
Oh, I did isolate. I mean, there were many times where I call it losing a day, because I usually slept or cried or, those kinds of things. But I was able to manage it with my work and everything. It did happen though. Yeah.
And how did you overcome the desire to isolate yourself?
Well, I force myself to do things. If someone, I used to try to avoid a little bit, but now I intentionally make myself, okay, this is what you need to do today. Make a list. And yes, you need to do this. And sometimes I don't want to, but I do it anyway.
So. Yeah, I don't want to. I love you guys. We're going to see each other next week. Thank you so much for the 2 episodes. I believe that this is going to encourage so many people. God bless you guys. See you guys next week.
Thank you, Duke.